Here we go, and we're live, and welcome. A few technical difficulties, so apologies for being a minute behind schedule, but hope our public will forgive us. So welcome to, I believe, the first live panel of the Big Indie Weekend. So the good news for you is we've got some authors to talk. Bad news is you've got me hosting, so apologies in advance. But in the highly likely event you have no idea who I am, it's Charlie Cavendish. I'm the beardless one of the four beardsmen of the book Apocalypse, and sometime written lover of books, and Holly's convinced me to host today. So topic, crowdfunding your creative project, which is a very hot topic, and there's been a lot of good projects recently, and many of which our panel today have been involved with, so they're going to tell us all about it. So maybe we'll start with Holly, if you'd like to introduce yourself, and I'll nominate because I know what order people are in, and we'll go from there.
Sure. Okay, so I'm H.L. Tinsley. I wrote the Vanguard Chronicles, Book 1, Women of Ash and Shadow, and Book 2, The Hand That Cast the Bone, which I don't have with me because I've run out of copies. I also wrote The Hallows, which I do have a copy of right here, which is my grim fantasy noir. And I was also the project lead, manager / captain of the Anatomy of Fear crowdfunder project, which funded. This is our Kickstarter exclusive version of the book, and I will bring my very limited knowledge from having done that to this panel.
I read it. It's very good.
Thank you.
Tim, would you like to kick us off next?
Yeah, I'm Tim Hardy. I'm a UK-based author, probably best known for writing the Brotherhood of the Eagle dark epic fantasy series, which I finished a couple of years ago, and it's available in its fully complete state. I don't have copies with me because I've rushed into this podcast and have become relatively unprepared. When it comes to sort of kickstarting projects and crowdfunding generally, I've had a bit of experience. I was on the project team with Holly to produce The Anatomy of Fear, and I'm wearing the T-shirt to prove it. And I also crowdfunded my own audiobook. That would have been in 2024 at that time. So yeah, that's kind of been my experience of going through those kind of projects.
Excellent. Thanks very much. Ben, next up.
Hello. I'm Ben Galley. I am an author of epic and dark fantasy, originally from the UK, but now skulking on the Pacific Northwest coast of Canada, hence the cabin. I have crowdfunded 5 projects now, from a graphic novel originally back in 2013, 14, and then over the last 4 years, been crowdfunding my Emaneska series as well. Otherwise, I'm a big fan of crowdfunding. I think it's fantastic what we're seeing in the industry right now. Otherwise, when I'm not writing, I'm a self-publishing consultant, helping loads of different authors from all around the world to publish and market their books. And it's something I've been doing for almost 15 years now, since I first published.
Excellent. Thanks very much. And last but not least, Sean.
Sean Crow here from the state of Oregon in the United States. I'm the only Yank here on the panel. So I've written the Godless Lands trilogy, as well as currently writing through the Valhalla Steel series. I haven't been involved in a whole lot of Kickstarters. I hosted my first one. We launched Honorbound Gaming, which is a current company I'm the CEO of. It's a tabletop-based game that is set in the world of Valhalla Steel. And we just had our first successful Kickstarter, and we're getting ready to launch another one here shortly.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, there we go. So everyone's far better experience than I to talk on the subject. So I'm going to jump into our first question of the day, and that's sort of looking at funding alternatives and sort of which ones are best for you, what those might be, and maybe we could, give people a few examples of things to consider when they're looking at that. I don't know if anyone wants to volunteer, or otherwise I'll pick a victim.
Pick a victim, Charlie.
Say pick a victim.
That's the way.
Play some roulette.
He unmuted first.
Who did you say? Me?
Yes, I did.
That's what I heard.
I'm the victim. After all that victim shaming, I forgot the question. No, I've got it. So for me, I've used Kickstarter, I've used Patreon, and I've used Crowdspring in the past as well. Kind of more of an older school one now, but I kind of used it to crowdsource my original book cover. But otherwise, yeah, Kickstarter's been fantastic. It's obviously one of the largest, that's raised close to something like 400, 500 million for publishing over the last, decade and a bit. Otherwise, Patreon's a really great way of kind of providing, sustainable, hopefully, monthly income as well. So those two have been fantastic with me. Both take a lot of work, both take a lot of commitment to one kind of path, a lot of admin on both sides, for me, for Kickstarter and for Patreon as well. But both fantastic. I hear a lot of good things about Ko-Fi, but I haven't used that yet either. But definitely recommend both if you're able to set up that kind of system and flow between sort of KDP and actually publishing, obviously your books, and either doing the funding beforehand or the funding afterwards for, more editions and things like audiobooks like Tim, for example, or, gamifications, graphic novels, all that kind of thing.
Yeah, I just want to jump on that quickly because I really... Sorry, Charlie, I think I've got a little bit of a lag with you, so I don't know if I talked over you there.
Yeah.
I was just going to mention, I really wish that I had a better memory, because one of our videos this morning, Good Morning Indies with Trudy and Nils, Trudy was talking about one of their most recent Kickstarters, which is actually done on a new platform, or at least a relatively new platform compared to kind of the Kickstarter, the more well-known versions. And that's one where creatives can basically collaborate to work together to have a number of projects running simultaneously. And the name will come back to me as soon as we finish the stream. I can guarantee it. But that could very well be something that going into kind of the future is worth looking at, as kind of more indies look to collaborate on these projects rather than working on them alone. So that's going to be really interesting to see how those platforms sort of build and expand. I can see Alex is in the chat. It says backer kit. Yes, backer kit. That's the one. So yeah, again, another alternative people could potentially look at.
Excellent. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as a user, I only use Kickstarter, but that was exceptionally easy to take my money and. But from a sort of a consumer side of things, it seems to work very well.
Yeah, definitely, and I think a lot of that's down to it's like the accessibility factor, isn't it? That people can get to Kickstarter, they know where it is, they know what it is. It simplifies it, I think, like you say, for the consumer.
Yeah, Kickstarter's got so much kind of organic traffic as well in terms of people actually looking for cool projects. Similar to like a store like Amazon or Kobo or iTunes, wherever you get your books, you go there and browse. A lot of people obviously come direct from other creators sharing for Kickstarter and saying my project's live. Here's a link, or here's a pre-launch page. Go and follow it. But the amount of kind of backers I've had just organic Kickstarter traffic, because obviously there's an amazing team behind the Kickstarter, well, Kickstarter in general, but obviously publishing is fantastic. And they will pick staff picks, or they will put, different projects in different places in their emails or the Kickstarter website. So they're really good at pushing it. And millions of people come and browse to see what they can get before anyone else, tech, games, books, excellent. Obviously.
No, that's good.
Yeah, I wish I could contribute a little bit more there. You guys could have knocked that one out.
Me, I think it could be me. So apologies.
Oh,
no worries, John.
My internet's playing up, which is a terrible time.
No worries, we're good, Charlie. Don't worry. Sorry, Sean, go on. I'm just gonna take lead now.
No, I was just saying, I've just primarily used Kickstarter,
Right, hopefully we'll get Charlie back.
Carry on, Sean.
But yeah, primarily Kickstarter. I wasn't as familiar as our CFO was. They do a lot of, because we're moving in more of the tabletop realm. It is linked to the work and stuff, but I didn't even realize just how much access there was to that. I mean, I'm not a collector. I play tabletop all the time, but I'm not as big a collector, so I didn't realize just how vast it was and how you can pull in these different groups. I think the only other thing I'd add in there is just the local support you can get. If you have that in your community and you start building that presence, we're kind of, the way we have our structured is we're doing small Kickstarters, and then we're going to do the full tabletop, because the small Kickstarters have allowed us to kind of fund the artists and the 3D renders that we need for the models and stuff. and then we're coming out with a full tabletop. Essentially, next year is our goal. But just going to small businesses saying, hey, this is what we're approached with, they know us here. And, it's been kind of neat to see that those investors, yes, they'll get on Kickstarter, but having that support around town and where you are is really a huge help.
That's a really cool form of kind of crowdfunding in terms of that grassroots local aspect, because I think, that's kind of like an original
word Ben is saying.
Oh, I'm not muted. Hopefully I'm coming through okay.
I can hear you, Ben. You're all good.
No worries.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I think that local grassroots approach is really cool. And I think something that goes quite forgotten a lot of the time, because, that's kind of the original crowdfunding and, kind of still is for a lot of different industries and businesses. But we've come to kind of, I think me definitely, you think of digital crowdfunding and you think of that, solely existing online. So it's awesome, Sean, that you're going to, local businesses and getting kind of sponsorships and working with lots of different kind of people in just kind of like a one-to-one space. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Real life funding.
Yeah, real life funding. Back to the traditional funding. Yeah.
Apologies for my internet. I've had to go to my phone.
I'm so sorry. I can't hear Ben. I can only hear Holly.
That's fine. I'll translate everything that Ben says.
Can you tell this is live yet? I don't know.
Yeah.
I think this is all down to the fact that Charlie's actually secretly a robot.
No, it's coming from the future. It's and I won't blame the fact that it's 6 o'clock in the morning.
I can't hear anybody but Tinsley. That's so weird.
I had this a minute ago, and I just kind of left and came back and restarted and rejoined, and it was fixed.
Apparently,
you can't hear me.
Yeah, everyone else can hear everything, so it's fine.
Can you tell Holly what I said? Holly, can you tell Sean what I said?
And the guys in the
if you want to speak, raise your hand.
Yeah.
I'm going to pop out real quick, pop back in, maybe see.
No worries.
Yeah.
No worries.
Cool. So apologies for that. So have we gone to the planning side yet, or are we still talking about alternatives?
I think we were just there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think we're about there.
Segue seamlessly. Oh yes, yeah, that's it. The possums are messing with it. It's in the chat. That's we have a long running joke between American possums and Australian possums. Who's are better, and they're not the same creature apparently. But there we are. So planning the critical P in all of these projects. Thinking about what we need to get started. Marketing management, any of those. I think what might be for particular authors to think about this is it's a pretty substantial task and probably quite a scary one when you're thinking about it. So maybe I thought we could maybe just go through those that have in projects or have done them before, what you need to get started and the critical things around that sort of marketing and management of the projects would be good to run through. I'm going to pick on Tim this time.
Curse you. About to expose my lack of knowledge.
He was looking far too comfortable. So,
Ben said it before. Actually, that there is such a lot of work that goes into running these things. I think when you look at someone's Kickstarter and it funds in 10 minutes or whatever, whilst part of me is green with envy, the reason that's happened is it's because there's a phenomenal amount of organisation and planning, networking, and leveraging that kind of comes into play to sort of make that possible, really. And I think it's different. So if you're like doing something as a collective, that sort of like enables you to share the load. But I think if you're running one of these things on your own, I found that a very different experience because there's an awful lot of time pressure put on you from the minute you start to sort of go out there and say, I'm doing this thing. It's a bit like being on a runaway train that you just can't get off for like 30 days. It's so I think the more time you spend in that planning and prep stage beforehand, the easier it will be to sort of survive the actual live phase of it with sort of sanity intact. But I couldn't believe the amount of stuff I actually had to do, getting videos sorted, getting graphics done, just even writing what is your Kickstarter about and making it really clear and easy for people to understand what you're trying to get funding for. Should be really easy as a writer, but by the time I finished the first draft of that, it was just like this horrendous mess and made no sense. So I think getting both the communication side of it, and then sort of also teeing up all those other things where you want people to help you back it, help you promote it, setting up things like promotional podcasts, this sort of conversation, for example, all that kind of stuff. It basically took over my life for about a year, all told. And I think that's, people are nodding. I don't think that's actually unusual. I think that's that's actually the level of commitment you've got to put in if you want these things to succeed. So that's just for starters, really. Just on graphics, I think I had about 100 different graphics for all the combinations of rewards, social media stuff, that kind of. I spent forever on Canva, basically.
I need to get Canva tattooed on me because I'm on it every day. Like hours.
You've earned it, Ben.
Yeah.
You've earned it. Yes.
I love that website. Nice.
All good. Holly, you
Yes.
were in the thick of it previously.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I can't hear the word Canva at the moment. Not after the last few days without breaking out in a cold sweat. But no, I think I think everything like Tim said is right, and I think it is pretty much the same experience for everyone. Like no matter where they're doing their crowdfunding or through what platform. I think what's really important is to look at what you need compared to what you want at the beginning, because as I'm sure everyone here will tell you, every pound through crowdfunding has to be earned with blood, sweat and tears. It is not a case of, there are millions of people queuing up to throw money at you. Yes, there will be some, but for the majority of them, you have to earn that custom. You have to earn that kind of that loyalty and that wants to help you. So I think to know how much you need, what you need is very important, and to not be afraid to just be a bit small beer. It's okay. You don't have to always be, a $20,000 project. You don't always have to be a 30. I think Anatomy of Fear, we funded at about 5,000 UK. Which for us was huge, but in comparison to some of the kick funders that I've seen other indie authors doing it, very small beer. But that's fine because that was what we needed, and I think it's just being realistic but optimistic at the same time. I think it's probably early stages, because you do find it's easy to get carried away with the dream of, I'm going to have sprayed edges and I'm going to have gilded maps and holographic dragons that pop out and things like and that would be lovely, but do you need it to fund your project? Fund first, then start adding all the fun extras on top of that as well.
Yeah, I'll just add to that as well, doing the maths and doing, working out that commercial side of it. Although we are creatives, you have to have that bit nailed down so that what that initial funding target has to be. It needs to be low enough to be achievable, but not holographic dragon level at entry level. Otherwise, it's never going to happen. So being quite strict with yourself is very important.
I now want holographic dragons. I'm sorry.
It's not wrong. It's not wrong to want it, but it just can't be funded with this project.
You put it out in the universe, Holly, so we need to...
As soon as you said holographic dragons, I was like, I want to know more. Tell me.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to volunteer then for a minute, Sean. I'd be like, yeah, we'll do that on the next one.
Or
I'll tell you about the holographic dragons. No.
With your tabletop game, like that old sort of... I rewatched at a complete tangent the original RoboCop the other night, and when they have those sort of games where you press of course, thousands of new movies I could watch. No, I went old school, but the Nukem game where they press the button and everything. Yeah, that's what we need with a tabletop game. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that might be something interesting that Sean can probably actually jump on a little bit, because I think there's a vast difference between like what me and Tim have done, which is very much just to do with publishing and the book realm. It was like for Sean, obviously, what you did that was a massive amount of physical prep, because you're actually creating a product, like a physical game piece.
Yeah. So just a little more detail. So yeah, we basically know that none of us have ever really done this on my end. Like me and my team, they're amazing. I couldn't do it without them, and those, especially John and Brock, they really understand like the gaming industry. Knowing the audience is just so huge to like looking at what other companies are doing or other startups are trying, what those kind of like stretch goals would be. Manufacturing, like we just decided, hey, this is a business. We're going to invest all our money first, because the scary thing about Kickstarter, right, is that you might not get it, and we didn't want to do that. We said, okay, well, we're going to look at this as an investment, and we're going to use this as a jumping point to continue to grow until we're ready for all that. Because we're creating models. We're working with multiple artists. The really kind of cool thing from my writing area is, I'm using artists who I've used before to create the character concepts, Anthony Valiakonis, who did all the artwork for Valhalla Steel and Quenched in Blood, he's doing the character designs, and he opened his own kind of like an artist firm. So he contracts out a little bit, and we can get these designs, then we get it to the 3D render. So then we're working with Stanislav's in Italy, and he's rendering these things, and then we have a local manufacturer, well, not local, they're about 4 hours away, but same state. They're producing the models. So we're trying to balance all these different pieces. Our next big step is like box design. How do we get everything in one big box? How are we going to ship that? What are our price points? A lot of it's still ongoing. We had a lot of lessons from that first Kickstarter. We were aiming, I think, for, what was it, between 2,000 and 2,500, I think, and we got 4,000 for it. But it was a single model. It was Yuri. For those who have read the Valhalla Steel series, Yuri's one of my all-time favorites. So I was like, well, he's a piece you can actually have in the game. Certain circumstances. So all the pieces we're making will be relevant to the game, but fans of it, they get just having that, producing that. It's just so many steps you got to balance. And so, like with marketing, we learned a lot. Like, we still funded and we made it, but we felt like we could have done a better job, with the marketing aspect of it, because none of us are super tech savvy. And so that's the one thing we're lacking. And so, right now we've been shopping around because we have everything ready. We have the models already produced for the next Kickstarter, but we don't have any real marketing in that area, because we put some things together, we put some ads out there, but I just think it could be better. So it's just seeing this constant growth and improvement, so then when we get to the big project, like you said, start small, and then once we get to the big one, we'll have all the other models ready to go. We'll have the art, the box art, everything, and have all those stretch goals that are relevant.
Yeah, excellent. That's it sounds like you're not trying to walk before you can run, but you know what you know and what you don't know, which I think is probably a critical aspect of things. But
yeah,
but equally, don't let that hold you back, people. Go for it.
Yeah.
Then we've kept best for last.
Oh no, definitely not. No, I just think that was a really good point Sean made about it's just gone from my head. The kind of the chicken and egg situation. Like, you need some things first. There needs to be a bit of investment as well before you actually kind of raise, or hopefully raise, the money. But yeah, for me, it's the planning is very chicken and egg. And for me, it's like you kind of have to first figure out, what do you want to do? Is it an audiobook? Is it a 3D character piece? Is it a special edition, which is obviously what a lot of people are doing right now. I swear I blink and there's a new special edition coming out with holographic dragons, and always constantly pushing the bar. So you kind of need to ask yourself, what do you want to create? What is your ideal? For me, it was a special edition. I wanted to see a very nice kind of not heirloom edition necessarily, but maybe just a very, very nice, beautiful edition with the sprayed edges, the foils, the color illustrations and things like that. And so like Holly said, just have that framed, and that's what the basic kind of aspect is to get that's your project. And then you can put all the the bells and whistles and dragons on it later. But I think that's the first step, is figure out what you want to achieve, and is it achievable, and how much money would that take. And then the planning for me is a lot of math, a lot of curbing my enthusiasm. It's you see a lot of these big Kickstarters that have huge amounts of reward levels, a massive story, they've got all the art done, and there's just a lot to dig through. It takes you half an hour just to kind of go through the page and decide what you want to have, and which reward you want to have. And I learned that lesson really early on, because every single reward, or every single add-on or extra, every stretch goal, every kind of aspect you put into your Kickstarter adds multiple layers of complexity later on for the shipping. Things like product codes, spreadsheets, all that good stuff that a lot of creative types, including myself, really struggle with. I love a spreadsheet, but I hate math. So those kinds of things I'd really recommend is kind of starting small and then growing from there, if it's possible for you. You've got to be chatting to a lot of suppliers. There's a lot of kind of a lot of DIY aspect, and I think there's a spectrum there of you are able to go out and find a printer yourself. You're able to kind of produce the interior yourself if you want to, and you want to learn if you have the skills. And you can do all these different things yourself, or there are some really fantastic ways to kind of curb that, or kind of reduce the amount of work. Collaboration, like Holly and Tim as well, working with a group of authors or a team like Sean has, or working with a company that is actually set up to work with authors and facilitate the design, the shipping, and all of that sort of stuff as well. Because for my second project about 4 years ago, I decided to ship all the books around myself, fold all the boxes myself, spray the edges. Don't ever do that. It's not worth it. Don't spray your edges yourself. Get someone else to do it.
At what point did that feel like a bad decision?
Oh yeah, no, I'm still like breathing red dust out every now and again 4 years later. So I was just having this conversation the other day as well on one of the other panels. But either way, there's that DIY side, and then there's the companies that exist that actually have relationships with printers, in country or overseas. They can do all the boxes for you. They can just essentially do all the tip-ins for you, and all you have to do is kind of focus on the Kickstarter side a lot more than the DIY. So I definitely recommend that. They can take a huge amount of planning, off your plate, which is great, especially if you've never done a Kickstarter before. It's a lot of work.
Excellent. No, that's good. I think when you do put that work as a consumer of the product, if you will, because obviously I've not written anything yet, but it's and getting that specialist, I think Ben, you mentioned is these are a lot of us reading on ebooks and things like that. But so when there's a book that you really love or it's special to you or something like that, it becomes that sort of collective piece or a piece of art, or whatever you want to have on your shelf. Yeah. So it's great when you can buy that. But I'm going from just the logistics side. Now I'm based at the other end of the world to absolutely everyone else. How if you're potentially you could be shipping, as you have done, probably shipping books to the four corners of the world. Yeah. How do you that could be I know what it's like to get something sent out here. It's extremely expensive.
Yeah. I outsource.
That's going to be a daunting task, I'm sure.
That's it. Yeah. I just the company, fulfillment company all the way. Even if you don't work with like a Kickstarter company like Merrick Books or someone like that. Yeah, get someone who's going to pick and pack and do all that. All you have to do is just deliver the books and the extra rewards, and again, more spreadsheets. And honestly, it's so much easier.
Well, I think like you had mentioned, Charlie, there with the shipping, like that's something that we didn't expect the tariffs, out of the United States that have hit, but that really affected us. And it was just a learning experience because you go, oh, okay, well, we had these because we had looked up the prices. Then when the tariffs kicked in, we're like, oh, shipping overseas was rough. That hit us hard, so how do we then, and now we talked about, okay, well, we can mass ship to an individual that we know in the UK who can then ship out for it. That would cut a lot of expenses, so balancing those things out and just being ready to get hit where you're not looking, like something's going to cut. I don't know about the rest of you, but that's been kind of the thing. Like there's always gonna be something you miss. So be ready for it, just be ready to get hit and then have to, wobble around for a second, get back on balance.
Because unfortunately, you've probably got more unpredictability than the rest of us, unfortunately.
I mean, yeah, being just above the border from you, Sean, I've had that as well. Because all my fulfillment company were like, yeah, double your US prices for your shipping. Yeah. That's all we know right now. And so, yeah, you had to kind of I had to double the cost for my last Kickstarter for all my US backers in terms of shipping. You can kind of eat that cost elsewhere, but like that's the simple math, is make sure that you can cover the shipping to each individual backer, and then there's just I can never say that word, multiplication of the number of backers, that sort of thing. So that's where the math comes in. But my God, yeah, that not that there's like a profit margin, but that little safety net has shrunk with that.
It really does.
You're allocating resources and costings to things, and then when you get hit left field, that's again, it's come to that planning, doesn't it? I guess, there's in days gone by, we wouldn't have anticipated things like that, but nowadays I think, well, you almost have to anticipate. No one expects the unexpected.
Do your research and have a contingency. We with the Anatomy of Fear, we did actually ship ourselves. I say that Holly delegated that task to her team members, so I ended up being responsible for digital fulfillment, which sounds really simple. And that wasn't either, actually. It's incredibly, there's a lot to it. But another of the sort of Kickstarter team members, Jacob Sanex, did the actual legwork of shipping. So again, you've got to do all that work work out what your shipping prices are, but also how heavy your book is and what you're going to pack it in and how robust that is. I think Jacob was actually literally throwing things at the wall to see whether it could survive in transport and those sort of things. But obviously, we want to ship something out and for it to be damaged at the other end. So it's all those little things that they all add up to an absolute snowball of a mountain of work to do. So, on one level, yeah, you can stay in control of it and you can do it your own time and manage, your backers' expectations. Don't say you'll ship everything out in a week. Tell them you'll do it in a month or 2 months and be really clear and manage those expectations. So you can do it, but I think, I hear what Ben's saying there about outsourcing. I think outsourcing things that are going to really eat into your time, because other things will hit you sideways, like Sean was saying, and that's when you need. If you're not careful, you end up under pressure trying to do a lot of stuff, especially again if you're trying to do it all on your own.
Yeah, I think that's.
Oh, sorry, Holly.
So,
After you.
I was literally just going to basically agree with it, and so I think what we're all trying to say in a sort of roundabout way is a lot of this comes down to building a team around you, because even if you're doing the Kickstarter yourself as a solo artist or solo author or whatever it might be, you're still going to need to have the help and input of people, whether that's people you outsource to, or even just to build a street team, because I've heard this phrase a lot this week. A street team of people who are willing to go out and to share your content and to push you on social media platforms to let people to amplify and boost your signal. Because if you wait until the Kickstarter begins to do that, you've already lost half of your Kickstarter time. And you've lost all those potential backers. So, part of your planning process has to be, what can I get other people to help me with? What are they willing to do for me? Who can I outsource to? That's got to come at the beginning rather than at the end. Sorry, go on, Ben.
No, I was going to say, completely agree with that. You've got, all I was going to say was you've got these, fulfillment companies and kind of Kickstarter indie author companies. They can often get like cheaper shipping rates or cheaper rates from the printers, because they might get 3 or 4 projects delivered in bulk. So they can save money on like pallets and shipping crates and all that sort of thing. But going back to what you just said there, Holly, as well. Yeah, I completely agree in terms of the kind of the arrangement and the chicken and egg thing that, I mentioned earlier, and so did Sean. It's just that idea of, you kind of need to get your idea, but then you need to kind of like pay for an artist to get a few kind of mock-ups of what it's going to look like, even if you might not funds, and that's the investment there. And then it's like, marketing straight away, get the Kickstarter pre-launch page up and then start marketing it while you're working on things in the background, like, shipping quotes, sprayed edges, colors, I don't know, Pantone colors for foils. I love that stage, all that good stuff, that sort of thing, and working out the details. You can still be using some of your time and just directing people to the pre-launch page to rack up those followers. Yeah.
And Tim, I was going to say, and I have to shout out to Jay for your distributor for my copy of Anatomy of Fear went AWOL on its way to Australia. So he kindly,
actually, yeah.
He kindly diverted a copy to I think some guy called Tom Bookbeard, who I hadn't met at the time, who I caught up for a beer with in the UK, and physically took possession of it. And then by the time I got home, my copy had arrived home. So
double win. I've forgotten that. Jacob also drove around the country to do hand deliveries wherever humanly possible. So that may be going above and beyond. I don't know, but probably yes, it is definitely.
Yeah, he didn't fly out to Australia with it, but I didn't ask him to do that. But thinking about sort of, what we're discussing now, which I think leads quite nicely into what I wanted to touch on next, was that sort of pre-campaign about how to get and keep eyes on your project. And you alluded to it there about getting that anticipation, that particularly, I mean, there'll be some authors who have names that you hear so and so and bang, immediately there's 10,000 people all rushing out to I'm sure Ben will be one of them. And others, you got to work or create the buzz and the interest for it, and the anticipation. I think so maybe we might sort of spend on that a little bit further about sort of practical tips of what you need to get started planning that marketing management. I mean, Ben, is it stuff that you will do? You've done a few projects now. Is there stuff that in the lead up to how you go about sort of getting that interest in that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, get that pre-launch page up as soon as possible, because then you have a link. It's like a pre-order, obviously, for an ebook. It's just a great, thing to say on social media. I mean, I start even before I have that. So way back, I'll just be, kind of try and mock up something myself. If not, get an artist to mock something up for me and just kind of announce my plan. So I kind of start the ball rolling as early as I can on social media, my mailing list, my Discord, my Patreon. God, I'm on too many platforms. But anyway, so I just really kind of get the word out as much and as early as I can. Then the pre-launch page. And while I'm working on the admin, it's, I'm focusing on mailing list swaps. I'm focusing on kind of sometimes kind of creating a content calendar so I can show off all the aspects of the project over a longer period of social media without necessarily boring people, and all the time just, throwing them towards the pre-launch page. I try to, I chat to Kickstarter to see if there are any opportunities there, and that's, things you can open up via networking. I chat to other authors for things like social media mentions as well as mailing list swaps. Kind of around the launch time as well, I've actually used paid advertising in the past to boost my Instagram or sometimes like TikTok as well. Excuse me. Again, rallying my fans. The good thing about kind of doing Kickstarter after Kickstarter, like Sean, you're doing, is you kind of become an entity on Kickstarter that people will actually follow and kind of trust as a provider, as a company, which is fantastic. So that kind of thing, once you've done 1 or 2 projects, you can actually use the mailing lists or the backer lists from the previous campaign. You can actually update those campaigns. You have a knock on the more campaigns you do. So a lot of that is kind of, rallying your existing fans and troops. But yeah, in summary, a huge amount of outreach, huge amounts of social media content creation, basically, and just trying to show off really like kind of about the book. People, we're obsessed with books. I was holding up this hardback that I got the other day and just looking at the spot UV, and I'm just like, ooh, it's fantastic. People are obsessed with the product, so just make it all about the product as well and what you're trying to do. The amount of people that I've had come to my Emaneska Kickstarters who haven't ever read any Emaneska is unbelievable, just because they like the pretty thing. It's the magpie effect is what I like to, and that really is powerful. So that's why I try and let talk for me, essentially.
Yeah. Guilty. Yep. We all like the shiny things. So.
I wish I had one with me, but I didn't pack one. So. Yeah.
Yeah. No, Holly knows I'm notoriously for running across my bookshelf, but I promised myself I wouldn't do that today. So.
Yeah, the bookshelf that for some reason Charlie still hasn't brought any closer to his desk.
No. I did suggest if we could rearrange around the lounge for my podcast, but that was a resounding not going to happen. So, with Holly and Tim, with your exposure, is there things that you did? I mean, you had a team, so did you delegate any of the sort of the marketing or the push in the mid campaign, so keep the interest flowing in?
I mean, I'm sure Tim will nod along with this, and I'm sure that as well, Charlie. I am a delegator, so I do like to. I like to have a jobs list and plan out who's going to do what in advance. But I think it's very important to remember that if people are doing this for you, the majority of the time, unless it's someone that you're outsourcing to as a paid, consultant, contributor, whatever it's going to be, they're people doing this out of the goodness of their hearts because they want to support you. I mean, I was fortunate with the Anatomy of Fear. We had 12 authors involved with the project, which means we had 12 authors who were all able to support and to push and to market things, albeit to different degrees, because as we know, everyone's got different kind of constraints on their time and what they're able to do, and even just time zones being different. But actually that can work to your advantage. So we looked at things like, well, actually, okay, who have we got in Canada, who have we got in the US, who have we got in Europe, and how can they market to those audiences, how can they bring in their audiences to other things that we're doing, and it all sort of works in a strange holistic route system when you have more than one person but even then it's still remarkably tough, and purely because I know I'll forget to say this if I don't, because Ben's just made me think of it with what he said there, is when you're doing all this stuff is just to always be aware that you need to either be or have someone aware of those small details that can be missed. Because I've literally done it today. We've recently launched the Patreon for Spotlight Indie, so I put up an advertisement for it, a promo trailer, and it wasn't until Trudy Skies, thank you Trudy, pointed out that I hadn't actually included the link to the Patreon. And I kind of had a bit of forehead slap moment, but it's those little things. And I think if you can get a couple of people just to be those extra pair of eyes, if nothing else, then that's a huge win, because it's those little details that are going to get you. And you really do need to make sure that you are saturating everything you do with this campaign. If you're running a campaign on social media and you haven't got it as your banner on social media, then you're missing a trick. All the social media posts in the world are going to disappear into the algorithm, but your banner is going to be there constantly. So it's I think if you could get a team of people just to look after that side of things, then you're onto a winner.
Mm.
I don't know if that answered the question, but that's what I'm going with.
No. That's hard enough. We don't stand on details like that. So, the questions are mandatory, answers are not. So, Sean, I guess with your projects, slightly different, obviously being a physical object, but have you been sort of, trying to game that sort of, you mentioned obviously you've got guys in the gaming community about sort of, pushing their interest to say, we've got this thing coming and, getting that engagement?
So I'll just start off. I've been kind of a little of a sponge right here, just listening to you guys, because I've done some of this, some of that, but I'm listening to all of what you guys are doing. I'm like, oh, this is good. I'm going to be picking some brains after this. But that said, right now we're in the stage that we are assembling. I think we've got about a dozen gamer groups that we're about to send the rule sets to. So we're kind of like, yes, the plan is to move on once we have the tabletop ready. We're going to be pushing out to some other groups. We have our eyes, like I know John and Brock, they're really big into watching the podcast or stuff. And again, me, I don't have the time. I'm all over the place with a few other things, but we have our list of like who we want to reach out to, but we're trying to iron out the rules. So right now we have a dozen gamer groups that we're going to send out the rules to next month, have them kind of review, play it without our interaction. Cause everybody so far we've had trial it has loved it, picked it up in the first session. Like it's really quick, but there's things you iron out. Once we have this alpha phase kind of go through, we're going to give them a couple months, play the game a couple times, give us feedback. Then we'll go into a beta version, and then we'll send that out to test groups that have social media platforms that can start spreading the word, give them samples, give them, once we have everything assembled, that is the plan.
Yeah.
But so there's a lot of moving pieces there, and it's just time getting things in. And so I don't know that I'm quite at that phase of reaching out, but I think with the miniatures, that's something I could improve on. And it's something we've already discussed as our team to like, okay, how are we to get the individual models out? Maybe we're going to try to go with some, not confessionals, what is it? Testimonials about when they received the first model and, have them show up, like if they painted it, things like that, and then have those spread out, see if we can share it, see if we can send the models to different people. That's kind of where we're at.
Yeah.
Challenge fun.
I was going to say, I think we'd all happily pay a fee for confessionals. That's
I'll just write down the worst things I've ever done in a list.
I think this morphed into a completely different panel, but hey, let's go with it.
Right.
The Grimdark panel. Where
Grimdark panel, that's going to be a rough one.
that could be a panel for next year, Holly. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Grimdark confessionals.
Grimdark confessionals, yeah. The things that I've done for my characters over the years. My God.
I'm going to hell for that. Yeah.
I really
I've read a number of your books, you lot. So you're all got things to answer for. I think
we're all going to hell. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. But it's going to be author hell. It'll be like
author hell. I'll take it.
Author hell. You're in a perpetual Kickstarter, and you can only write blurbs.
It'll be all folded over pages in books.
All of this is so triggering right now. I feel like I might just leave it mid-broadcast.
All good. So I suppose this leads into that sort of in campaign. So you've done your pre stuff, you've got your launch, you've hopefully done your maths and got all your things lined up. You've gone live on Kickstarter. What are you doing to maintain the momentum and the interest?
I was going to say hyperventilating, but yeah.
Well, weeping is legitimate. That's in private, preferably, but in public on a bus as well. You can do that too.
Whatever you do, let it out. People don't hold it in. That's I'll say I'm not talking about confessionals anymore. I mustn't get down that route. But yeah, what for the rookies that might be listening, or indeed authors are thinking about it. What are some of maybe a couple of top tips everyone might have for keeping that engagement or building that engagement when you're live, inverted commas?
Okay. I'll jump on this one just because I can think of three off the top of my head. So 3 top tips, if you will. Number 1 is vary your content. So it doesn't all have to be polished. Content can be as simple as recording a video of you just giving an update, walking through the park whilst you're taking a break. As much as we love Canva, you don't have to use it for everything. But it's more important to have that quantity and also just to keep it varied and to keep it interesting as well. Second tip, I would say go to the gym or take a walk or do something physical. Just do not spend every second of the day on your screen, because you will go insane. So just take that half hour to do whatever you're going to go and do, bit of yoga, bit of meditation, lovely stuff. And then I would say third, I forgot what my third one was, which is really annoying because it was the best one. Come back to me, someone else jump on.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. Well, again, jump into actually, Ben, you might have some thoughts.
Yeah, I think honestly I agree with Holly. For me, normally what I do, it seems to be a weird thing that's, I don't know if it's been led by, just like the big companies in general, like the big five, and the bestsellers, but Tuesdays, 6 a.m. US time, I think it's normally like, is it 6 a.m. Eastern, or I can't remember. Either way, there is a specific time for launching the campaign. So for me, I get up super early. I get everything ready to go. I've got all my content ready to go. Copy and paste the social media post, and obviously hit the launch button. Sometimes it seems like you haven't pressed it. If you're like processing and you're like, oh my God, months of work. But for me, I think in the first 48 to 72 hours, are incredibly important, hugely important. So while yes, I absolutely agree, I've worn out my R button by just hitting like command refresh on before on a previous laptop. You will want to be glued to the screen. So I do agree that getting away from it at some point is good. But in that 72 hours, you really need to be running the kind of momentum of the marketing, but also the algorithmic momentum as well, because Kickstarter might show you off on brand new projects, new things. Maybe you've hit your funding goal quickly. Hopefully, this is also a trick, as you can sometimes go slightly lower on your funding goal, as long as you can actually cover your project, but you can go slightly lower so you hit it anyway. Either way, you want to see if you can basically talk about the milestones over those 24 to 72 hours. We hit this, we've just raised this, thanks so much, we did this in 10 minutes, half an hour, in 2 hours. Kind of structure it out, make it sort of capitalize on that urgency, that kind of novelty as well, because you are going to have a lot of Kickstarter kind of funding graphics look like, hopefully I'm doing this around the right way, but either way, a very, very kind of sharp gradient, and then a very kind of flat or slowly rising gradient, and then another kind of kick at the end in the last 48 to 72 hours. Again, that's algorithmic, but also just kind of, a lot of Kickstarter behind the scenes, a lot of marketing. So it's really hard in the kind of the middle period, but if you make as huge a push as you can for the first 48 to 72 hours, it's going to have pay dividends later on down the line over the next 20 to 25 days. That's normally the kind of time period I aim at. Otherwise 30 plus feels like it's an age, doesn't it? 30 days to your Kickstarter. Yeah, I like making them shorter. But that's yeah.
And so Tim and Harvey, with when you did it on Anatomy of Fear, and with so many authors, did you? I mean, I know I'm probably going to answer my own question. Was it delegated to various people with the different time zones? Because I know sometimes I post things random because ideas around there. Hang on, if I want someone to see this, am I better to wait and do it? Because it might be post dinner time for me, but that could be middle of the day in the US or middle of the UK, and that not many. It might not get the same engagement, and then it picks up later. So I imagine that there's an element of the timing around that sort of gaining interest, or
I don't think we were quite that scientific, but I think just we were quite fortunate that we were quite spread geographically around the globe anyway. Yeah. So there was a bit of natural sort of if somebody was running with something in a particular time zone, whilst I think about half of us were UK based, we had people. Sean was you were obviously in the States, weren't you, for example, and we had people in other time zones as well. I think there's also just that. I think with a group project, I think it's much easier to get that natural reinforcement. So sometimes it would be me that would be posting, and other people would just be pushing that particular post, that particular graphic. Other times, other people would run it, and you do that. And that, I think, having done the experience trying to run it solo, where you are the one, you are the team, it is much harder. And like Ben says, you've got to start thinking about stuff like paid ads and those kind of strategies to boost your signal. But with 12, or I was also involved in the Advent of Winter with 24 authors. It just made that side of things easier. So I think it's more it just really helps to have a team of people on a collaborative project. You'll just get a louder voice organically, really.
Excellent. No, that's all good. Just conscious of time. So my last thing is that post campaign. So you've hit your target. Hopefully you've hit your stretch goals, and there's much, the crowd celebrating, and there's much joy in your household. Post campaign, is there times when it hasn't worked, or how do you deal with that? Lessons learned, I guess.
Yeah. I've seen I've been very, very lucky and fortunate, thanks to I don't know what I did with the M&S-go. It's not even me, it's my main character. Apparently he's likable. He's very dislikable, but he's very likable. So I think he, like that kind of, whatever I wrote kind of carried a lot of the kind of success for my campaigns. So all five I've done have hit my funding targets, but I've been involved with a lot of other authors and authors I've worked with who haven't, even just coming like $10 shy sometimes. At that point, literally just get someone to just buy it and give them the money.
Yeah.
It's kind of quite dramatic, but either way, I've worked with a lot of authors who haven't hit it, and it's just going back to the drawing board. Sometimes it's a seasonal thing. You don't really want to be launching a Kickstarter in like Christmas week, like December 15th. Not the best idea, and that's the thing. Or they might have just been slightly targeting or underestimated the marketing. There's lots of different things, but if it hasn't worked, go back to the drawing board, just analyze, don't be worried. So many Kickstarters do actually statistically not make it. It's actually quite a crazy statistic. I don't think it's half, but it's kind of shocking. And that's absolutely fine because there's, a lot of different factors. But if it has worked, it's, take a breather. Like Holly said, go for a walk, pour a beer or non-alcoholic juice drink, whatever you like to do to celebrate. Be happy with yourself. And then from then, I like to kind of just create a structured plan of how I'm going to go about the next, a couple of months. Again, when you do a Kickstarter, you get to set your kind of estimated delivery date of your rewards. I always push that, 3 to 6 months further than I actually think. People are very happy to wait. They, either forget that they've backed and then go, oh, cool, or it's, people are used to backing Kickstarters that take, an hour and a half, that'd be great, a year and a half to actually, fulfill. So people are fine. Just keep them updated. I think, Tim, you might have said that. Someone said that it's all about keeping them updated via the update, functionality on Kickstarter. So, don't stress yourself. You can take your time, but just kind of figure out what you need first. Do I need to finish off the interior of the book? Do I need surveys to do that, like people's names? Do I need interior art? Just do it, step by step, essentially, and just kind of, structure it, get the ball moving, but don't kind of, pull your hair out or get stressed out over it. And absolutely just take a moment to go, yes.
I was just going to add there as well. It's not the end of the world if it doesn't fund.
Yeah.
So my solo effort came very close to not funding, and that was very much a squeaky bum moment in my author career. You're dead right, Ben, that if you're close, you need to make sure you've got a plan or some people willing to help you just get over the line, and that's effectively what I leveraged at the end of the day. I needed to get that done, and pulled in some favors from people and think, oh right, is it that important to you? Yes, it's really important. But so great, have that strategy and be the strongest campaign you do to actually get it over the line. If it doesn't happen, it's not the end of your author career or the end of your creative career. It's just one way of funding a project. I've backed Kickstarters that I passionately believed in that haven't funded. I've seen those projects still come to fruition. The audiobook I'm listening to at the moment, Sound of Change by Steve D. Wall, brilliant book. Kickstarter project, never got anywhere near its target. The audio still came out, and because I backed it on Kickstarter, I made a point of then getting it, through another platform. So, I think sometimes it can be felt like almost like if you don't have a successful Kickstarter, you're not even serious in the indie business. That isn't true. At all. There are lots of paths to success here, and this is just one particular way to deliver a product.
I think that's really important, Tim, as people say, it's not failure. It's and as you said, Ben, it's learning from what worked, what didn't work, what could I do different, and like any ventures, like some things will work, other times don't. And as a reader, look, if I'm on something and it's a year's time, then that's great. I don't mind. That's that's part of as long as that's up front, or even if things go wrong, tariffs, as you mentioned. No one would have anticipated some of those things. As long as you've used that communication and people know up front, most people can be reasonable to say, "Yep, okay, look, it's not, it's not in your control," and reasonable enough. And if it's, if they love it, it's worth waiting for. It's nice to get that nice shiny thing in the post when it does come.
Yeah, that's the Kickstarter vibe. I think that's what like the community is all about. They've seen that they trust Kickstarter as a platform, but they also see that a creator, even if they have a team or creators, they're still human beings. They're just trying to do something. And I've never had a complaint on Kickstarter. And I had a whole giant misprint fiasco with my second or third Kickstarter. And I've had to tell people about tariffs this year. Everyone's like, yeah, fine, who cares? Give me the book.
Yeah. That's it. I think that's the point is having that trusted platform, isn't it? That people have got to pay to. First time I was like, well, what's this thing? And then I went, oh my god, there's so many things. No, don't look at them all. You can't afford this.
Yeah.
All good. Now, conscious of time and the whole time, I had to be on time today. My previous panel, thank goodness it was pre-recorded because we went for an hour and a half and we weren't meant to. Now, I've failed at my first thing because I'm doing this from my phone. I can't check what's coming up next, so I'm going to have to defer to you for that bit, and then I'm happy to do my other sections.
No worries, I've got you covered, Charlie. Yes, so coming up in about 5 minutes' time, we've got another live panel with Fraser, with Livia J. Elliott, Tim McKay, and Luke Tarzian. They're going to be talking about subgenres and how to define where your book fits. So if you're a little bit confused by some of the weird and crazy subgenres that are going around at the moment, that is the panel for you to watch. I'll let you take it away with the rest, Charlie.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll do my best. So what these to obviously, Holly's mentioned the Patreon. I think the important thing that I picked up from sort of some of the messaging that you had over the last few days is, this isn't to ensure that the Spotlight Indie Group are supping from gold cups and in their crystal goblets. It really is. It's a great community, great collective, a really good movement, I think, and it is, I think, a movement, and it's swiftly becoming that. And to be able to support the guys doing what they're doing, strongly encourage you, if you're able to back it. If you're not able to, then maybe just shout about it and let people know about what they could do. Point live event, 23rd of May, Flax Mill Maltings in Shrewsbury, I think. If you're in the UK or you can get there, highly recommend going along. I've seen who's turning up. This going to be a great day, and very jealous that I'll be stuck here. But at least I'll be certain the weather's probably better where I'll be. So as you said, here sweating with the fans, already very warm. I think before we finish, maybe we'd just like to go around and give you guys a quick opportunity to sort of plug where you could find your work, what maybe is coming up for you. Holly, do you want to start with you?
Yes, I mean, I have nothing coming up because I haven't had any time to write anything recently. But you can find my a few things going on. But you can find my books. I'm just going to flash the Anatomy of Fear and the Hallows again. They're both on Amazon, and We Men of Ash and Shadow and The Hand That Cast the Bones on there too. And you can find me at spotlightindie.co.uk most of the time.
Awesome. Tim?
So if you look for Tim Hardy, author, I'm online. I'm pretty easy to find. I've got my own website, and I'm pretty present on social media as well. So you can find me on X, Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky at the moment. So, just have a look around. And if you get onto those socials or get onto my website, it's pretty easy to find my books from there. A bit like Holly, I'm available on Amazon. So that's where I retail my books. And go and check them out.
Awesome. Well, good. Ben?
I'm really easy to find as well. Yeah, bengali.com, linktree/Bengali. I've got a sale going on where you can get my debut book, The Written, for 99 cents. I'll probably keep that going for another couple of days. Otherwise, I'm working on a load of new books this year, trying to write 1 million words, and whatever comes out of that, I'll publish. So I'm writing science fantasy, sci-fi, all sorts of random stuff. But either way, it's kind of like a new...
Yes, I saw it. You wrap up your sci-fi.
Yeah, it's done. Fate's Razor. Yeah, keep an eye on my socials for that, because I'll be looking for like beta readers and doing early reads and stuff like that as well.
You guys feel people?
Yeah, I'm on every social media and everything else.
Yeah.
Sean, last but not least.
Yeah, along with the rest, you can find me on any of my socials, mostly Instagram, Facebook are big, at Lord of Crows author. You can find all my books on Amazon. If you're in Italy, reach out to Lettere Electrica. They're my publisher there, and they've been doing some great work. So,
excellent. Okay. Well, everybody, thank you very much. For technical difficulties aside, I think there's a lot of good content and topics on there. So, if you listen to this later, take some notes. I'm sure you could hit up the people on the panel if you've got questions. And thanks for coming.
Thanks, Charlie.
Thanks.
Pleasure.
Bye.
Thank you.
Have a good one.